This woman unalived her neighbor all because he did not accept her Christmas gift. Hi, my name is Ethan, and warning, this is a dark case. To really get into the story, 37-year-old Melissa Young was arrested for the brutal killing of her next-door neighbor Alan Williamson on Christmas Day of 2013. In court, she claimed that mental health issues was the reason behind her attack. However, she told investigators a different story. Her motive was due to Alan not accepting her Christmas gift. What was in the gift was a pair of unisex trainers and a copy of the Sun newspaper's 2014 calendar. Melissa claimed that he would not accept the gift even after she basically begged him, and that's what made her want to kill him. She pleaded guilty to homicide in 2014 and received a 20-year sentence. While in jail, she has also assaulted 2 female police officers, and let this just be a note to always accept a gift.
This schoolboy stabbed his teacher to death in front of a classroom full of students. 61-year-old Anne Maguire was a Spanish teacher teaching in Leeds. She'd actually worked at the school for 40 years and she was only 5 months off retirement. However, in April 2014, something absolutely horrific happened. One of her students was 15-year-old Will Cornick. He'd always been described as a smart student who never really caused any trouble. Classmates regarded him as a polite student, but after he got diagnosed with diabetes, his personality seemed to change. In 2013, he tried to join the army, but because of his diagnosis, he was rejected. Being in the army had been his dream, so this was really upsetting for him. After failing to complete his Spanish homework, he was given detention by Anne. He also expressed a wish to her that he wanted to drop Spanish, but she wouldn't let him, which only angered him more. He began to develop a deep-rooted grudge against Anne. Shockingly, he reportedly messaged his friends on Facebook asking if one of them would kill her for him for £10. During one school day, halfway through his Spanish class, Will decided to get up and attack Anne with a knife. The classmates watched on in horror as he chased her out of the classroom. When there, another teacher heard her screams and tried to shield Anne from any more blows from him. Will then allegedly returned to his class and told his classmates how it was a shame that he hadn't killed her. However, Anne did actually pass away from her injuries. Will later admitted that he did plan also to kill 2 other teachers. One of them was actually pregnant at the time. He's been sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 20 years.
On December 12, 2014, a teenage boy was walking home in a wooded area of Economy, Pennsylvania when he discovered a severed head. The head belonged to a woman and was located 31 feet off of Mason Road. When police arrived, they noticed that it wasn't like a typical severed head, but instead it almost appeared alive. The woman's skin on her face was smooth, her hair had been perfectly curled, and the head, despite its location, had been carefully preserved. And this was because the head had been previously embalmed. This would quickly become one of Beaver County's strangest unsolved mysteries. Authorities found that the head had been cleanly cut across the arteries and the spinal cord, but that a jagged cut was made along the skin of the neck. When the head was sent off for an autopsy, authorities found that the victim's eyes had been removed and replaced with these red rubber balls, the same style ball that you would get out of a toy vending machine. Authorities stated that these rubber balls were not professional devices and that the act of replacing eyes with these specific rubber balls is not a common practice in funeral homes. But they did note that whoever did this did have some knowledge of anatomy and had placed tan caps over the rubber balls in her eyes. The odd part is that the tan caps are in fact used by funeral directors and embalmers. The location of the severed head was too far from the road to have been placed there accidentally, and because it had been embalmed, it was not disturbed by wild animals. The victim became known as the Beaver County Jane Doe, as they have not been able to identify her. Traditional DNA testing has not been successful due to the previous embalming of the head. But authorities were able to piece together that the woman was between 60 and 80 years old at the time of her death. With isotope testing, investigators found that the woman spent the last 7 months of her life moving between Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland, and New York, and also that she likely grew up in western Pennsylvania. Further tests conducted on the woman's hair found traces of lidocaine and atropine, indicating that she may have died of cardiac arrest. Authorities believe the woman likely wasn't murdered and had been professionally embalmed at a funeral home, but that somebody likely stole the body while it was on its way to the cemetery. Also adding that the head had likely been removed after being stolen. Authorities checked to see if any nearby graves had been desecrated or if any funeral homes were missing any cadavers, but that turned up nothing. Police also believe that at least part of the woman's eyes had been removed for medical research or donation, but due to privacy laws, organ donation organizations are unable to release any of that information to authorities. Over the years, multiple sketches and even a clay 3D model of the victim were created, but 8 years later, the woman remains unidentified. And to this day, the rest of her body has never been found.
This nurse murdered 7 newborn babies in her care. Between 2015 and 2016, nurse Lucy Letby murdered 7 newborn babies by injecting milk, insulin, or air into their bloodstream at the Countess Chester Hospital in England. The hospital called police when there was a rising mortality rate in the neonatal unit, and doctors began to notice similarities in the deaths of these infants and asked to do a review of each case. After investigating, it was evident that someone was purposely hurting these newborn babies, causing them to either lose their lives or putting them in critical condition. It seemed like every time Lucy was caring for a newborn baby in her unit, they somehow became sick or passed away. In one instance, Lucy injected air into the bloodstream of a twin baby boy and he passed away, and then she tried doing the same thing to his twin sister, but she survived. She denied all these allegations, but after searching her home, they found handwritten notes where she confessed to killing all these babies. In one note, she wrote, "I killed them on purpose because I'm not good enough to take care of them." She was charged in 2020, but the trial is still ongoing and it's expected to last several months.
A man who admitted to R-wording 10 women and children was released from prison this week. And you won't know if he moves into your neighborhood because the state won't allow it. This is Richard Gilmore, aka the Jogger Rapist. In December of 1986, he broke into a family's home and R-worded 13-year-old Tiffany Edens. This is the only case he was convicted of, but he admitted that there were 9 other victims. Gilmore has been in prison for 36 years, and this Friday he was released into the Portland area, specifically the Old Town District. He's also classified as the lowest level sex offender. He's not on a public registry. He could move right next to you and you wouldn't know. Even his victims have been refused updates about his whereabouts. Tiffany has taken it upon herself to warn the community. If he's done it 10 times, he'll probably do it again, and he'll probably make sure he's not caught this time.
So I don't know who in North Carolina has heard of this story before, but it's absolutely crazy, so stick around to listen to it. So this is 28-year-old Matthew Phelps and 29-year-old Lauren Phelps from Raleigh, North Carolina. So they appeared like any average couple that was happily in love, and they bonded over Christianity because Matthew wanted to be a pastor, and Lauren was actually a Sunday school teacher on the side as well. But behind closed doors, the couple actually argued a lot because Matthew was spending thousands of dollars on Xbox and iTunes. In addition to his spending, Matthew pretty much had a double life on an Instagram that Lauren had no idea about. On this account, he would post movies that contained killing, and he would dress up as Batman. He also told some of his friends that he wondered what it would feel like to kill someone. Then on September 1st of 2017, Matthew made a panicked 911 call where he said that he randomly woke up and found Lauren covered in blood and that he also had blood on himself and there was a knife. His exact words to the 911 operator was, "I think I did it. I can't believe this." Lauren had been stabbed a total of 123 times. And Matthew's defense for all of this? Cough syrup. Matthew said that he had no recollection of the killing due to cough syrup that he consumed. Hallucinations are a possible side effect related to cough syrup, but the makers of the medicine that Matthew took reached out and said that they offered condolences to the family of Lauren, but that there was no history of violent behavior related to the medicine. Matthew was charged with first-degree murder, and his defense ultimately crumbled. He decided to accept a plea deal for life in prison to avoid the death penalty. Matthew has never given another reason for killing Lauren and has stuck to his cough syrup defense. But what do you guys think? Is this even a possibility? I know that may be a stupid question, but what do you think? So this is 31-year-old Kayla Hammonds from Lumberton, North Carolina. She was a woman that was struggling with a horrible domestic violence situation, and just a year before her death, she predicted that she was going to die at the hands of this man. So Kayla was a mother to 2 beautiful kids, and according to her TikTok, she appeared to be such a fun person, full of life, loved to joke around. However, she was also living in fear of her 37-year-old ex-boyfriend, Desmond Lee Sampson. He was actually arrested multiple times for abusing Kayla. He broke her finger, he threw a brick through her window, and he slashed her tires, along with threats over the phone. Kayla attended some of the hearings related to his charges, but her sister explained that Kayla was absolutely consumed with fear when she would attend court. So eventually she decided for her mental health and for her safety that she would stop attending the hearings. As a result, some of his charges were dropped. So these are some screenshots from her Facebook. Pause to read them all, but this is where she talks about Desmond and her safety. She also posted this one, commented on that same post begging for help, and also paused to read. In October of 2022, Kayla filed for a protection order against Desmond, but how protective are pieces of paper? On November 21st, 2022, Kayla took her kids to the local Food Lion, most likely to start preparing for Thanksgiving. Suddenly, in the parking lot, Desmond appeared and stabbed Kayla repeatedly, in front of her kids. Kayla passed away from her injuries, and Desmond was arrested the same day. He was charged with first-degree murder and violation of a protection order. So he's currently sitting in jail. His next court date is February 24th of 2023. We'll see how that goes. Kayla's family is now trying to get a law passed called Kayla's Law, where victims of abuse do not have to go to court to face their abusers. It's constantly sparking fear. It's constantly reliving the trauma. So her family is determined to make this a law in honor of Kayla and to help future victims.